asking for something from them, then we are going there to give something to them. Do you understand what I'm saying? So sing with me. We have come to liberate you, sing. From all that ways you hold me down. When you hurt me, you hurt you too. When you free me, you free yourself. You free yourself. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Yeah. You live from the bottom, everybody rises. One more again. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Oh, when you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Oh, when you live from the bottom, everybody rises. When you live from the bottom, everybody. Now just y'all, sing it out. Everybody. Yeah. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Keep it up, y'all. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. That's 2 times now. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. All right, bring that message to them, y'all. Let's free some people. Peace. We have come to liberate you from all the ways that you hold us down. When you hurt me, you hurt you too. When you free me, you free yourself. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Yes? Would you sing that with me? Okay, I'll sing the line, you sing it back to me. We have come to liberate you from all the ways that you hold us down. When you hurt me, you hurt you too. When you free me, you free yourself. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Now you. That's right. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. You. Poor folk are the first to suffer in this war economy. But I'm your daughter, I'm your mother. We're a chosen family. All together, when you live from the bottom, everybody rises. that's right. When you lift from the bottom, everybody rises. Hear this. We need air that's clean to breathe. We need water we can drink. You might say that we are weak, but we are stronger than you think. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Oh, when you live from the bottom, everybody rises. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Okay. So now when I say we have come to liberate you, it's because liberation is not something they're giving to you. We do not march to the Capitol so that they will give us liberation. That is not how liberation works. When we say we are here to liberate you, we are saying that when they hurt us, when they hold people down, they too are wrapped up in this evil, and we are saying we are here to free you from it. That's the gospel, my friends. That is the gospel. So let's sing that again. And remember that next time you march to the Capitol, y'all, that we are not there asking for something from them, that we are going there to give something to them. Do you understand what I'm saying? So sing with me. We have come to liberate you, sing. From all that ways you hold me down.
Welcome and good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome, Movement family. We are glad you are here tonight. We know you're logging on from across the country, and we are welcoming you to this Movement family as for this national virtual rally. We are organizing, we are mobilizing, not only to March 2nd, but to the polls. I am Reverend Casimir Brown, Executive Director and Vice President of Repairs of the Breach, and I'll let Sagatha introduce herself as well.
Thank you, Reverend Kaz. Welcome everyone from all across the country for this virtual rally. We're so excited for you to be here. My name is Sig Malis. I'm the National Director of Organizing for Repairs of the Breach, serving as the Director of Organizing for the Poor People's Campaign and National Call for Moral Revival. And tonight, we're going to have a powerful, powerful night hearing from low-wage workers, faith leaders, advocates, and why they're mobilizing for our 40-plus weeks of action, including our first mobilization on March 2nd in over 32 state houses all across the country. We're having a 40-plus week campaign to mobilize millions and millions of poor and low-wage and frequent voters. And we're going to hear tonight why low-wage workers and advocates and faith leaders are frustrated that workers haven't gotten a raise since 2009, why we don't have health care for all, clean air, clean water, workers' rights, and a whole bunch of other things our country could be doing better. So I'm going to turn it over now to a promo video where we will show the powerful movement that we are building over the next 40 weeks.
to pay my bills since I've been working at 16 years old. I work full-time 64 hours a week, 7 days a week. I am exhausted.
Our government finds it necessary to ban abortion, to say that they are saving our children. But more children die as a result of poverty in this country.
We should not be cornered and forced to choose one necessity over another.
This is the consequences that we face. So what our people say is that we are fighting the oldest evil.
No matter how you call the holy, all of our sacred texts compel us to create a world in which there is enough for us all.
In the face of a distorted moral narrative of religious nationalism, we declare that silence is betrayal.
We gather on these streets in the spirit of the prophet Amos, who declared, hate evil and love good and establish justice.
We heed the charge from the Holy Quran. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina bil qist. O you who have believed, be persistent, standing firm in justice, witnesses for God.
Hope comes from the bottom, from those most directly impacted by the profound evils of America.
Our votes are not a show of support. They are a demand.
We will raise our cry and we will call for change because nothing less would be a betrayal of our sacred commitment.
We are here. We are the poor and dispossessed, and we are here.
Until children are protected, sick folk are healed, low-wage workers are paid, immigrants are treated fairly, affordable houses are provided, until saving the world and diplomacy and living in peace is more important than blowing up the world. We won't be silent anymore. If we've got to march, we'll march. If we've got to engage in nonviolent direct action, we'll engage. If we have to ask workers to make election day a labor strike day, we'll do it. But until then, we won't be silent or unseen or unheard anymore.
So Reverend Kaz and Sig, how are you all? You see that powerful video?
Yes, we did.
That's from all over the country. You know, we're not doing this alone. This is together, forward together. I think it's time for a roll call of all the states that are out there. And we need our organizer to come on and call these states in that are mobilizing. And DC is who's going to be a state, but these 32 states plus DC. Let's call them in. Roll call. Is there a roll call out there?
Yes, there's a roll call. I thought you were going to do the first two.
No,
Bishop.
let's call them in.
Ready?
Let's call them in.
All right. Welcome, everyone. First up, we'll have Alabama. Is Alabama in the house tonight?
Yes, and we're taking back the mic.
Great. Arizona.
Arizona's in the house and we're taking back the mic.
All right, California.
Yeah. Cali in the house and we taking the mic back. Yeah.
Yes, District of Columbia.
Just before you go anymore, let's change that up. Let's say we're voting our power, because that's what this is about. Mike is one thing, we're voting our power. Everybody, if you own this thing, we're mobilizing and voting our power. Say that with us. We're mobilizing and voting our power. All right, call them out. Let's hear you.
All right, District of Columbia.
We are here
and voting our power.
Mobilize. Oops.
Great. Delaware.
Delaware's here. We are mobilizing and taking back our power.
Hey, all right. Florida.
We are here and we are mobilizing and taking back our power.
Great. Georgia.
Georgia is here. We are mobilizing and we are voting back our power.
All right. Come on, Illinois.
Illinois is in the house, and we're mobilizing, voting, and we're taking back our power.
Great. Indiana.
Yes, Indiana's here, and we're mobilizing, and we're voting, and we're taking back our power.
Great. Kentucky.
Kentucky is here, and we're mobilizing, and we're voting our power back.
All right.
New Jersey.
New Jersey's here, and we're taking back our power.
Is that you, Clinton?
Yes, that
All
was
right.
me, Reverend Barber. Yes.
Call them out.
All right, Maryland.
Yes, Maryland is here, and we're mobilizing and taking back the mic and mobilizing to create a lot of voting. Thank you.
That's right. Maine, are you there?
Yes, Maine is here. We are mobilizing and we are voting our power.
Great. Michigan.
Michigan is here, great state of Michigan, where they're trying to poison our water in Flint and Benton Harbor, but we won't allow them to poison our vote. We are taking back our power.
Missouri.
Missouri's in the house. We're mobilizing and taking back our power by the vote.
Nebraska.
Nebraska is in the house. We're mobilizing and voting back our power.
New York.
New York is in the house. We are mobilizing and taking back our power.
All right, and keeping it going. How about you, Oklahoma?
Oklahoma is in the house, and we are mobilizing and taking back our power through the vote.
That's right. And how about you, South Carolina?
South Carolina is in the house. We are educating, mobilizing, and we are taking back our voter power.
Amen. How about you, Tennessee?
Tennessee is here. We are mobilizing and we're voting back our power.
All right. And how about Vermont?
Vermont is here. We're mobilizing and taking back our power.
Amazing. And Washington State?
Washington State, we're mobilizing, voting, and taking back the power.
All right. And West Virginia?
West Virginia's in the house. We're mobilizing and we're voting back our power.
All right. And taking it a little bit back, I heard Mississippi's in the house.
Mississippi, we mobilizing and voted back our power.
Yes, we are.
Amen. And want to acknowledge the other states that are organizing as well: Kansas and Massachusetts and North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Wisconsin.
Texas.
North Carolina
Texas, you're here?
and we're voting back our power.
Yes.
That's right. Well, listen, you all, the reality is 87 million poor and low-wage voters in this country, nearly 23 to 30 million that did not vote in the last election. There's not a state in this country where poor and low-wealth voters don't make up 30% of the vote now. There's not a battleground state, what we call battleground state, where we don't make up 36 to 40% of that power. And in many states, if 20% or less, there's not a state where 30% of those who have not voted were to vote, poor and low-wage workers, but in many states, 20% or less. Some states, 10% or less. Some states, those of you that are joining us tonight that are not a part of the Poor People's Campaign or the Coordinated Committee, but you're joining because you're interested. We welcome all of you. We are cross-posting on some 50 other different sites all over the country. Millions of people can eventually tune in. But the bottom line is you should join this on March the 2nd. March the 2nd. Is that flyer up and good? March the 2nd. You should see the flyer. It's going to be in the chat for all of you that are joining. You can join with us March the 2nd at 10 o'clock. We gather at 11 o'clock. We began. It is a launching. Somebody say launching. It is a launching of this historic attempt to mobilize 15 million poor and low wage voters in this country. Now, we got to sing, y'all. If you're going to mobilize, you have to sing. If you're going to mobilize, you have to have theomusicology. So bring it up now, the video, the music that we're going to have as we move out. What a powerful bit. I'll leave it up to Yara Allen and the theomusicology team to take it and make it gospel, make it do what it do, as they used to say in the movies, make it do what it do. But we won't be silent anymore now. You know this movement. I'm going to turn this over in just a minute to Sig and Cav, but we've got some testifiers. We've got religious leaders and poor and low wage workers, impacted persons who are going to be taking the mic and saying to you why we should, why they're mobilizing, really, and why they are part of this historic effort, and why we will not settle for a democracy that is impoverished because we don't have living wages. Poverty is the fourth leading cause of death, and all of the other issues. I won't say them because it'll give room for other people. So right now, we want to bring them on. We want to bring them on. The first person we want to bring on is Reverend Monica Cross from California with Tapestry Ministry, Berkeley Disciples of Christ. Monica, tell us why you were mobilized.
Thank you, Bishop. As a person of faith in the Christian tradition, my calling is to follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, to bend an arc of the moral universe ever so gently so we might have more health care. Now, the gospel showed me that the work of Jesus was the healing of the people. Throughout the gospels, we see Jesus providing health care for everyone in need. Matthew 4:23 says that Jesus healed the sick and those who were afflicted with various diseases and pains among the people. He cured them. In Matthew 11:2-5, when John the Baptist's disciples asked Jesus whether he was the Messiah, Jesus replied, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, and the poor have good news brought to them. If I am to sincerely
All right, my
follow
sister.
the teachings of Jesus, I must
That's right.
stand for health care for all.
That's
Now,
right.
for the
Thank you
last
so much. We got you on. Thank you so much. That was a powerful piece, Reverend, and we know that you've got more to say, and we hope that you'll bring it to all of the people you have. We've now got 1 minute. We want to hear from one of our testifiers. We want to hear from Jim Lee in Washington State, who's with the Poor People's Campaign. Talk to us, Jim. Talk to the nation.
Hi, my name is Jim Lee. I'm one of the tri-chairs for Washington State. I'm a millennial who graduated from Seattle University with a master's degree to pursue my dream in serving the most vulnerable in society. However, what I did not expect was to be put in a vulnerable position myself with financial and housing instability. As a current spiritual care provider, I make $18 an hour, and with the current cost of rent and living in Washington State, I had to move out of my apartment to live with my parents. And to pursue my dream to be a spiritual care provider. In fact, in Washington State, to meet basic needs, 2 adults with 2 children need to earn over $26 an hour to afford a modest 2-bedroom apartment. So as an impacted person, I'm here today in solidarity with all those who are advocating for a right to live. So I ask you all to join us in March 2nd to say that in the richest country in the world, poverty should not be the 4th leading cause of death. We all have a right to live, and I, as an impacted person, won't be silent anymore.
Well, Jim, you put it, Jim, you tell it just like it is, because you are the power people, just like you standing up saying no more. Pastor Josie Rodriguez, you're from United One Voice down in Mississippi. Look, take a minute and tell people why, as a pastor, you're engaging in Mississippi and calling all of your other pastor brothers and sisters to join.
Yes, I'm engaged with One Voice and also the Poor People Campaign because it's so important, not just to preaching about the love of God, but you need to get out there and show the love of God. We engage with immigration policies, and we engage with the communities of the state of Mississippi because we've been a target for the political parties and using all the immigrants, the ones that born here, so they can vote and be the voice of those that don't have no voice. So it's very important for the church to get engaged now to see the issues affect our communities out there. And I'm calling to all of those faith leaders to join me in Mississippi and working with the communities and help all the immigrants in Mississippi and other states so we can find a better way to live in the states in Mississippi.
Thank you, Pastor. Love you, man. Listen,
love you too.
Listen, coming behind you is Leisha Francis. She's with that new union, that United Southern Workers Union, North Carolina PPC. Listen, Leisha, tell us why you're calling on all you folks, why you are mobilized.
I am mobilizing. I'm Aisha with the Union of Southern Service Workers, and I am mobilizing and unionizing and organizing because we organize all across the service industry. There's never been a union in the South for the service industry, and now there is. And the way we do things, we do it the way we do it because it's a high turnover industry, first and foremost. Second of all, some of our workers have 2 and 3 jobs, So with the South having all of these anti-worker policies that deal with, the right to work laws, are you at will laws, we have to strategize a little differently, people, because what we need it now. And we all share the same set of demands all throughout the service industry. Fair pay, fair scheduling.
Aisha, let me ask you a quick question. So why is it important for folk to vote? I mean, you're talking about why is it you and the USSW and y'all are mobilizing with this effort to touch 15 million voters, low-wage voters? Talk to us about why your folk are excited about this.
We are absolutely excited about this. We are absolutely excited. One, we get to touch so many people and let so many people know who we are. And the reason that it is so important to us, voting is so important to us, is because this is the way that we get what we need from where it comes from.
Thank you. You know, it only takes 18% in North Carolina to turn the margin of victory around.
That's
and you know,
it.
1/3 of all poor folk live in the South. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Aisha. Thank you. And thank you for what you all are doing new. Imam Talib Sharif from the Nation's Mosque in D.C. Imam, tell us why you're calling on people. Here you are in D.C. You are still voting. No, you're not a state yet, but you're going to be. But why are you, as a Muslim, saying to folk, look, we have to engage at these state houses and in D.C. at your city council? Why we have to vote at this moment?
Well, it's an imperative, and we certainly appreciate being a part of this movement and rallying the people together. As you mentioned, we're right here in D.C., but we're connected to Malcolm X. We're directly connected to the boxing champ, the great humanitarian Muhammad Ali. And they took a stand. They stood for justice. They stood for equality. They stood for the people. And of course, in our Quran, as we heard earlier in the video, God says, be a people standing for justice, for equality and fair dealings as witness before Almighty God. And with this rally, we are doing just that, taking a stand, demanding a democracy where we abolish this poverty. We have to do it. We have to make change. We know poverty is a policy choice, and it's one that we must change. And without change, these conditions that we're hearing about, low wages and high cost of living, it makes it hard for people to meet basic needs and easy to fall into debt right here in Washington, D.C. Together, we can administer CPR and revive the heart, the soul of this democracy to ensure dignity and justice for all. Forward together, not one step back.
Assalamu alaikum, Imam. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for all that you're doing right there. Ash Hiskey from Vermont. Vermont, now, you are all the way up north. But tell me why folk in Vermont recognize you've got to mobilize poor and low-wage voters. You can't leave anybody out. We've got to make sure this sleeping giant wakes up. Talk to us, Ash.
Yeah, hi. I'm currently an unemployed and low-income resident of Vermont, and I got involved with the Vermont Poor People's Campaign to help organize and build voting power among our fellow poor and low-wealth Vermonters. Vermont's professed to be a progressive state, and but it does come with a price which is unaffordable to roughly around 1/3 of its population. Finding a Vermont job that offers a wage that covers the cost of living here is almost impossible. Living paycheck to paycheck means I break even and I don't overdraft my bank account, and I will consider myself lucky. It's no surprise Vermont has a housing crisis, a healthcare crisis, a mental health crisis, and an opiate and addiction crisis, which all are continuing to compound. And I'm here to Vermont's political structure.
And you know your state capital, many of them can address these issues. I mean, that's part of the reason we're marching on these state capitals. You need that to happen right there in Vermont, right?
Yes, we definitely do. And I'm organizing at the State House to demand policy change, and I'm here with everyone to take back our power and give voice to the real impacts of poor policy legislation.
Thank you so much, Ash. Thank you so much, Vermont. Listen, Reverend Latanya Pettigrew, the AME Zion Church in Florida. Why is it in Florida? Why in Florida must you all mobilize? You know, I understand down in Florida that it would only take something like 3% of poor and low-wage voters who have not voted to change all of the elections. Why is this important for you, Reverend?
Bishop Barber, it is absolutely imperative because as the pastor of Tampa Bay Zion and the health and wellness coordinator for the Alabama-Florida Episcopal area of the AME Zion Church, I cannot preach a gospel, good news to the poor if I am not living out the sermons, if I am not walking by faith, if I am not ensuring that the works that we talk about accompany the faith. The U.S. Declaration of Independence firmly acknowledges certain undeniable rights, and it also talks about how these rights are basically where the government is instituted among men, but they get their powers from the consent of the governed. I'm asking that people of Florida would organize and take a stand, because as we see the Voting Rights Act get gutted in 2013 and Congress's failure to restore those voting rights. Florida has tried to pass 9 bills to restrict voting. And as such, we see 4 of them have become law. To further add injury to insult, we also see that even now in the courts, Florida is fighting to keep abortion measures off the ballot because their claim is that we are that is too complicated, based on an article that came from Politico by Eric Sarkistan and Alice Miranda Olstein that was dated.
Can I interrupt you 1 second? Because we only got a minute.
Yes,
but I want to ask you a question. What does it make you feel like that in your state, for instance, the governor's race was decided by about 14,000, maybe a little under 20,000 votes, and over 2 million poor and low-wage voters did not vote?
It is upsetting that we have all the things that are happening in Florida to disenfranchise us, and our voices are not being heard. Because their
we got to take it back. So we got to take it back, right?
Yes,
it's
sir.
Us. It's us. It's like, sometimes people talk about what's happening to us, but if we've got power, we can't leave that power unused. Am I right?
You are right about that.
Thank you. Thank you. We know y'all gonna be mobilized. And Jim Yates out of Illinois Poor People's Campaign. You following Reverend Pettigrew. You're all the way up in Illinois. Now she's saying it got to happen in Florida, but do you need it to happen in Illinois? And why is it? Why is it? Why are you organizing in Illinois? Do we have you, Jim? All right. Is Jim on?
I think Jenny might have lost her connection.
All right. Well, Jenny, I'm sorry. It says Jenny. Okay. Did she lose it? But let's go. Let's go right here to our dear friend, Sheila Katz with the National Council of Jewish Women. Why is it, dear sister, you all taught us that in the Old Testament or in the Hebrew scriptures, the word for voice and vote are the same thing. Why is it that Jewish women and Jewish people are mobilizing across the country in these 32 states to mobilize 15 million poor and low-wage voters?
Thanks, Bishop Barber. Kavod habriot, the dignity of every human, is one of the most sacred commandments in Jewish scripture. Dignity first and foremost, not just for the wealthy and well-connected, but for all people. And we're here today together from all states and all faiths because our country is broken. People are suffering, and we must do better. And to be clear, it's a policy decision that millions of children are living in poverty, that millions of families are living paycheck to paycheck, and that poverty is the 4th leading cause of death in the United States. And we won't accept these statistics because we know they impact real people, each of whom is holy and each worthy of a life with dignity. And so the March 2nd action to state houses takes place on Shabbat, which feels significant to me. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel famously talked about praying with his feet when marching alongside Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. And on March 2nd, the Jewish community will pray in synagogues and at state houses, and we will pray with our feet, with our legs, with our wheelchairs, with our bodies, and with everything we have to bend the moral arc of the universe toward justice to end poverty in America.
Wow, praying with our feet. That is what Rabbi Heschel said when he marched across the Emmons Pettus Bridge and they won the Voting Rights Act. And at the end of that march, Dr. King said these words: the greatest fear of the racist aristocracy in this country is for the masses of Negro people and poor white people to join together and form a voting bloc that could fundamentally shift the economic architecture. Today, he would say the masses of white people and Latino people and gay people and straight people and Asian people and Native people, all of those millions and millions of people who have power, poor and low-wage folk, we have to turn it loose. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shalom to my dear sister. Bring that theomusicology up now with Matthew David, This Little Light of Mine. Bring it on up, that video right now. And then we're going to turn this over to Reverend Cass, Reverend Zig, to bring us our last 10 speakers.
This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This here voice of mine is for singing songs of freedom. This here voice of mine is for singing songs of freedom. This here voice of mine is for singing songs of freedom. Sing 'em loud, sing 'em loud, sing 'em loud. These here hands of mine are for voting tyrants out. These here hands of mine are for voting tyrants out. These here hands of mine are for voting tyrants out. So vote 'em out, vote 'em out, vote 'em out. These here feet of mine march me to the polling station. These here feet of mine march me to the polling station. These here feet of mine march me to the polling station. Here I go, here I go, here I go. Yeah, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. See, this here voice of mine is for singing songs of freedom. This here voice of mine is for singing songs of freedom. This here voice of mine is for singing songs of freedom. Sing 'em loud, sing 'em loud, sing 'em loud. Vote 'em out, vote 'em out, vote 'em out. Vote them tyrants out, vote 'em out, vote 'em out. See, here you go, here you go, here I go. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Wow. Take over, Reverend Kaz and Sister Sig.
Thank you, Bishop. And we are ready to let our lights shine from coast to coast and everywhere in between. Next, I'm going to invite up Rodolfo Abarca from Wisconsin to tell us why they're mobilizing for March 2nd.
Well, my name is Rodolfo Abarca, and I live in Beloit, Wisconsin, where we have the richest self-made women in the U.S., yet we still have double the poverty rate in Wisconsin. I'm involved because my city is becoming her playground, and healthcare is still unaffordable. I have worked in many blue-collar jobs, and every job I've had to work overtime just to get a livable wage and pay my bills. My grandma is getting old, that she's reaching 70 and still unable to retire while living with 2 of her kids because rent is just getting too high. And my mom doesn't get the proper medical care she needs due to the high costs. The Poor People's Campaign means a lot to me because I want to live in a country that values the lives of people. I want a democracy that is fair. I want a democracy where everyone has health care, a democracy where all workers make a livable wage. And that's why I'm involved, why I vote, and why I'm going to be at the state capitol March 2nd.
Thank you, Rodolfo. We're right there with you. Next, we're going to hear from...
Hey, just a minute. We got to do a little bit more with that, brother. Did you hear that testimony? Oh, come on, Sid. Come on, you got to give him more than that. That brother just laid it out and was willing to be vulnerable and tell his story and say that to people all
I thought it was going to be longer, too.
over this country. Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. We just want to say thank you for just telling the truth and being there. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for letting me speak.
All right, Sig.
Next up, let's hear from Reverend Rodney in Missouri. Tell us why you're mobilizing in Missouri.
The reason that we're mobilizing in Missouri is because America has a problem. And while we are sleeping, our pillars of our democracy are under attack. America's been in a long battle for the ballot for a long time. We're in a war, a struggle, a clash of ideals and ideologies between regressive desires to take us backwards towards a modern era of Jim Crow rather than forward towards a more perfect union. If we are ever going to be the people that God is calling us to be, or to be the America that America has been called to be, everyone is going to have the access to vote. If we do not have the access to the full ballot, we will enter into a second slavery, and we are not going to stand for that.
That's right, Reverend Rodney. And I just want to say one more time what you just said. We're trying to make America be what it was called to be, where everybody thrives, where everybody has living wages and healthcare and equal opportunity to public education and housing. And we are mobilizing all across the country. So from corner to corner, every single state, we are building the America that we need.
And we're doing this thing because we have the power. This is not hyperbole. This is not just doing an exercise. 23 to almost 25 million poor and low-wage voters did not participate. There's not a state where 20 to 30% of those persons will participate that we cannot make fundamental change. And in a place like Missouri, they proved it at the poll what they did with living wages. And so you all, this is not just us fighting for the voting right. This is us taking our power and using it. Because one thing in a democracy you cannot do is sit home and not participate. 15 million is our goal, you all. 15 million poor and low-wage voters being touched for 42 weeks to mobilize in a massive way and change the dynamics of our politics. We need a movement vote and not merely a political vote.
That's right, Bishop. Now we're going to hear from Gloria Williams in Florida. Why are you mobilizing? Why are you taking back the vote? Why are you mobilizing poor and low-wage voters all across your state? In addition to adding into the 15 million poor and low-wage voters, we're mobilizing at least 15 million, if not more, across this country.
I live in one of the poorest counties in the state of Florida. I've watched so many homeless people day by day and have been homeless myself due to not having the income and health care that is needed to sustain a better life for myself. I am a grandmother that has 13 grandchildren, with which 5 of them live with me. It's hard to get childcare in order to even provide for them in the manner that they need to be provided for. Healthcare is horrible here. I have health insurance through my job, but it does not cover what I need to have a better life, a better sense of living, a better sense of community, because there's restrictions. And without health care, it's hard to live.
That's right. Hey, Gloria, did they accept Medicaid expansion in your state?
No.
No. I want folks to hear that. That's why we're marching on the state capitol, because the federal government said Medicaid expansion, but Florida said no at the state capitol. That's why we have to mobilize, because the people that did that, they got elected, not so much because they won, but because of the number of people that sat home and did not participate. In Florida, it wouldn't take but 3% of people poor and low wage workers who have not voted to participate to change things. I hear you, Grandma. Can I call you Grandmama tonight? I hear you, Grandmama.
Yes, you sure can, sir.
It's time to fight. It's time to fight.
Yeah.
And next, we're going to hear from Reverend Wayne Wilhelm in North Carolina. Reverend Wayne.
So I am Reverend Wayne Wilhelm, Faith Vice Chair of the North Carolina Poor People's Campaign, and we are mobilizing. We are mobilizing because poverty is the 4th leading cause of death in the United States. We are mobilizing because 800 people die every day because of poverty. We're mobilizing because we realize and we know that poverty is a policy choice. We know this because during COVID, the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit dramatically decreased the poverty rates here in North Carolina and across this country by over 20 million people. In 2022, when these tax credits were removed, when SNAP benefits were reduced, when eviction protections were lifted, poverty began to rise again. During this same time, billionaire wealth grew by $1.5 trillion, more than $2 billion a day. So we're coming together to demand that legislators across this nation stop their policy violence. We're coming together to mobilize on March the 2nd with 32 states and Washington, D.C., not as an insurrection, but as a resurrection, to let legislators know that policy violence is hurting our brothers. Their policies are hurting our sisters. Their policies are hurting our communities, and we won't be silent anymore.
That's exactly right. Poverty, violence is hurting too many people in our community. Poverty is a policy choice. It does not have to be this way. We in this country that poverty is the fourth leading cause of death. We're saying no to that, and we won't be silent anymore. Thank you so very much, Reverend Wayne. Next, we have Jamie Collins from Texas. Jamie, tell us why you're organizing here.
Hello. We're getting our feet on the ground, mobilizing, because personally, I am a person who lives on SSI, and if it wasn't for outside help, I would be homeless. If I don't get a check next month, the next month I will actually be homeless. And there are many things. I have many healthcare issues, but some of them have to go untreated because of their healthcare. Medicaid does not pay for all of the things that I need. So that's why we're going to be on the ground running and mobilizing. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Jamie. In Texas, we heard things about needing healthcare, not only in Texas, but across this country. We need healthcare for all. We need safe and secure housing for all. Thank you so very much, Jamie. And last but certainly not least, we're going to hear from Reverend Dr. Christopher Zacharias in Washington, D.C. Tell us why you're mobilizing there.
Good evening, Rev, and to the people of God. We are organizing in Washington, D.C. because poverty must stop. And we are mobilizing because we're dealing with the urgency of now, which demands a democracy for all workers to make a living wages. Right now, Washington, D.C., the residents make up 39.6% of the state population. We're mobilizing to help them meet their basic needs, where even 2 adults and 2 children must earn $29 an hour, where a minimum wage of $17 an hour has increased in D.C. But an individual must still work 83 hours a week to make ends meet. That means they have to make $70,000 a year to live comfortably in D.C. And with the rising cost of living wages contributing to Washington, D.C. and having the largest or one of the largest homeless populations, 9.3 people per 1,000 residents experience homelessness. That is double the average. So again, we mobilize because poverty must stop. We're mobilizing because we believe it can stop. We're mobilizing because living wages and healthcare and voting mobilization will help those who are poor, low income, eligible voters. If they go to the polls, they'll sway the election outcome for their betterment.
Reverend Zachariah.
March 2nd is coming. Start reconstruction.
Thank you, James. I appreciate
you to join the movement.
On the call. Who's that, Stephanie? Oh.
Yes, sir, Reverend Zachariah. Somebody cut in just a minute. Thank you, Sparksy, for cutting that. Reverend Zachariah, I was reading the other day a Zion from back in the day. And it was during the time of slavery. And you know what he said? He said, we are 6 million. You know, in other words, he was saying to the people, I know we've got this slavery, but we are 6 million. I know we have this trouble, but we are 6 million. And you know, today we can say we are 87 million poor and low wage folks. And that's not including our friends and religious leaders and other. We are 87 million. We are 25 million folk who, if we vote, can fundamentally shift the way this democracy. People are trembling in their feet, in their shoes, at the possibility of this sleeping giant waking up. And thank you, Reverend Zachariah, from the Freedom Church. From the Freedom Church, I think it was your brother that said, anybody that wants the ocean but doesn't want that wants freedom without struggle. It's like somebody that wants the ocean without the roar of its waves. There's somebody that wants rain without the thunder. Like, we have to do something. So thank you, brother. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you so much. Now, Reverend Liz is going to come on and say to all our friends, because there are people who are from everywhere. They may not be on a coordinating committee. That's fine. But we want them to join us, because the Poor People's Campaign is not an organization. It's an organism. It's a movement. So Reverend Dr. Liz, right there from Union, New York, the Executive Director of Kairos, talk to our friends, invite them to come in and join us. Take 5 minutes and do that as we prepare in just a little bit to have some more music and then to bring our time together here to a close. Reverend Liz?
All right. Thank you, Bishop Barber. We are hearing it here tonight because we are here as poor and low-income people, clergy and moral leaders, advocates, activists, agitators, organizers from more than 30 states, from rural and urban areas, all genders, sexualities, races, ethnicities. And we are young, we are old, and all the way in between, because we're 135 million poor and low-income people in this richest country in human history. And we're mobilizing and organizing, registering and educating. We're showing up at our state houses on March 2nd to make our voices heard. It is immoral and wrong that we throw out more food than could feed every hungry person across the world, but half our kids in this country live in food insecure homes. It's immoral and wrong that there are 5 abandoned homes for every unhoused person in this nation, and yet millions of people have nowhere to lay their heads. It's immoral and wrong that there is not one county or city or town anywhere in this country where someone working full-time at federal minimum wage can afford even a 2-bedroom apartment, a minimum wage that has not been raised since my daughter was born, and now she's in high school. And yet the richest corporations are making billions, even trillions, off the back of low-wage workers. But as we've heard it tonight, and as you will hear it with the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, it does not have to be this way. Come join us. The issues most important to the daily lives of the majority of people in this country are on the ballot this year, and we are going to raise our voices and our votes, because our votes are our demands. We're going to make our politicians hear us, because we, the people, have the power to transform this society from the bottom up in these elections and beyond. And when we show up at our state capitals on March 2nd, we're going to be building a world where everybody has a right to live. We're calling on anyone and everyone to come join us at your state capitol on March 2nd. We're going to build this moral movement led by the people. We're going to organize together, unite together, address these interlocking injustices of racism and poverty, ecological devastation, the war economy. We're going to reject the distorted moral narrative of religious nationalism. We're going to choose life and truth and justice and peace. And as we say in this Poor People's Campaign, we are forward together, not one step back. Forward together, not one step back. We will see you on March 2nd, and we'll keep on organizing until we win.
Indeed, Reverend Liz, and that is the power that we have to win, y'all. It's not just the power to make a noise. I won't call the state's name, but there's some states. One state we looked at the other day, 10,000 votes was the margin of victory in the presidential election. 980,000 poor and low-wage voters did not vote. If just 1%, Reverend Liz, just 1% says, I'm not having it anymore. We're not taking this anymore. There comes a time you have to cry power. You have to use what you have. You have to mobilize what you have. You have to not only say what folk are doing to you, but what must we do? What must we do? And that's where we are in this campaign. We are not, the number one reason poor and low-wage folk don't vote, according to our study, was nobody talks to them. Well, that's a reason to stay home. Nobody talks to you. But then there's another reason why you have to then make folk talk to you. And how do you make them talk to you? Show up. Show your power. Your votes are demands. You may not be able to pick a perfect candidate. You never will be. But you look at what candidates are closest to your ideas and which ones you can push, and you get in there and you make your votes felt. There's several states where the margin of victory was under 40,000 votes, and over a million poor and low-wage voters did not vote. Should we leave this power on the table, y'all? No. Somebody write no in the chat. No, we can't leave. You cannot be in a democracy and leave power on the table. Power. I was taught this, Reverend Liz. I called Reverend Liz and told her, I said, I'm so inspired. I'm messed up, y'all. I went to Lincoln University. I should have stayed away from Lincoln University. Those young people have got me out of my cotton picking mind. They're way back up in the woods. They live 67 miles from the capital in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. They're mobilizing. They knew about it, and they told me, they showed me the flyers when I went on campus. They said, we're coming to March 2nd. But 14 of them last year said, we're not going to accept the state government cutting our funding. The state was going to cut $18.9 million from Lincoln University, the oldest black college in the country, where Thurgood Marshall went to school, and Langston Hughes. You know what those babies did? Those freshmen, those sophomores, they put on their shoes and walked. They didn't get an Uber. They didn't get in their cars. They walked 66.7 miles to Harrisburg and walked into a Senate budget hearing and demanded their funding and reminded folk that they voted too, and they came home with their appropriation. My God, just 14 students decided. So they let me come up and speak, and I don't want to say anything. I just want to play, it's a little long, not too long, but I want to play this clip. It's the end of they were honored. It's the first time that they're being honored. At first, some people wanted to put them out of school, told the president she ought to suspend them. She said, I'm not suspending them babies. And they had an honors convocation. And this is what we said, and this is what they taught me, and I hope that it will inspire you. And afterwards, Pauline, if you're still here, we want you to come on and sing us out of here. The flyer will be up. All of our friends, you can know how to mobilize with us. But drop that video. This was at Lincoln University last week. This closing came out of my conversation with these young folk. This is the history we're in. And it's a hard history. But my young brothers and sisters, you are what God's been looking for. Because not only must you know your history, and not only must you face history, you must make history. Did you know right now, there's not a state in this country where poor and low-wealth people don't make up 30% of the electorate? In some battleground states, 40%. Did you know that where the election was only 3%, that if you just mobilized 20% of poor and low-wealth voters, they could change every election in those states? Did you know right here in Pennsylvania, right here in Pennsylvania, this is Pennsylvania, isn't it? Right here in Pennsylvania, in 2020, there were 3.3 million eligible poor and low-wealth voters. The margin of victory in 2016 wasn't but 40,000 votes. The number of poor and low-wealth voters that didn't vote was 1.2 million. The stones that the builders rejected, God has now given us the numbers and the power to turn things around. But we've got to make history. We've got to decide that there comes a time you have to stop crying over what's happening and change it. A time like that came in 1852, and I'm through. Brother Frederick Douglass, who was an abolition, had escaped to freedom. And then a Supreme Court was stacked. Somebody put a Supreme Court in place to turn things back. It was called the Taney Court. You see what's happening in the Supreme Court today. Well, this was the Taney Court, all you future lawyers. And the Taney Court went to work. And they voted on a piece of law called the Dred Scott decision. How many of y'all know about that decision? And the Dred Scott decision said that a black man has no rights that a white man ever has to pay attention to or respect. When that law was passed, Frederick Douglass went into depression. People said, it's over. There's nothing we can do. And then I think it was Sojourner Truth, one of the sisters in the movement, saw Frederick Douglass somewhere with his head in his hands. And she saw him over there. And she hollered at him, Frederick, is God dead? And Frederick said it shook his soul. He got up from that place. he told the American Abolition Society, I want to speak on what has happened. In 1852, he went to that society and he said, I have something to tell you all. He said, in one view, it looks like the slaveholders have a decided advantage. Seems like they have all the organization, they have all the money, they have the governments, they have the judiciary, they have everything. And it looks like there's nothing we can do. But so it was with David versus Goliath. Because oppression organized as ours is always appears to be invincible until the very hour that it falls. He said the Supreme Court of these United States is not the only power in the world. Listen to Frederick. He said the Supreme Court of these United States is great, but the Supreme Court of the Almighty God is greater. Justice Taney can do many things, but Justice Taney cannot perform impossibilities. Justice Taney cannot change the essential things, nature of things. Justice Taney cannot make evil good and good evil. Such a decision cannot stand. God will be true, though every man be a liar. And we can appeal from this hell-black judgment of the Supreme Court to the court of common sense and common humanity, and we can appeal to from man to God. If there is no justice on earth, there is yet justice in heaven. You may close your Supreme Court against the black man's cry for justice, but you cannot close the door of God in the court of heaven. And then Frederick Douglass says, because I believe this, I'm going to make history. As monstrous as this decision appears, we got to meet it with a cheerful spirit. Because every now and then you need to know your enemy's attack is only to reveal your strength. That your enemy wouldn't be attacking you so much if you weren't so strong. And the very attempt to blot out forever the hopes of an enslaved people may just be one necessary link in the chain of events preparatory to the downfall and complete overthrow of the whole slave system. He says, this is what I know. The whole history of the anti-slavery movement is this, that every attempt to stop us only serves to intensify and embolden our agitation. There comes a time that when folk are trying to take what is rightfully yours, justice and righteousness, it has to not make you go somewhere and sit down. It has to make you stand up. And didn't our foreparents stand up? Don't forget how they stood up. And think about it. They had less, but they did more. They didn't have a cell phone. They didn't have Google. They didn't have TikTok. They didn't have Facebook. They didn't have iPhone. They didn't have cars. They didn't have a bank account. They didn't have a college degree. They didn't have fraternities and sororities and computers, but they did more with less. Touch your neighbor and say, don't let us do less with more. They did more with less. With less, they beat slavery. With less, they beat Jim Crow. With less, they beat lynching. With less, they beat the KKK. Harriet Tubman, with less, got 700 slaves out of slavery. She didn't have email, she didn't have text, she didn't have Facebook, she didn't have any of that. She didn't know what Twitter was, she didn't have a car. All she had was faith in God, a made-up mind. Now, she did carry a .38 pistol because she said, you're going to be free. One way or the other, you're going to be free. She had moss on the north side of the tree. She had a North Star in the middle of the night. She did more with less. We must do more with more. Langston Hughes, who wrote in the 1930s before Dr. King ever talked about I Have a Dream. In fact, this is where Dr. King got it from. He wrote a poem called Let America Be America Again. And Langston Hughes said, right in the middle of the Harlem Renaissance and the labor struggle, the steel of freedom does not stain from those who live like leeches on the people's lives. We must take back our land again. America, oh yes, I say it plain, America has never been America to me, but I swear this oath that America will be. Out of the rack and the ruin of our gangster death, the rape and the rot and graft and stealth and all the lies, we the people must redeem the land and the mines and the plants and the rivers and the mountains and the endless plain. We must take back our mighty dream. I say it and I say it again. America has never been America to me, but I swear this oath that America shall be. That's your alumni, Langston Hughes, who said that. And so tell everybody. In fact, touch your neighbor right now and say, neighbor, it's time to go to work. Call everybody you know and tell them it's time to make history. Knock on everybody's door and say it's time to make history. Snapchat everybody. You can snap, 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 and tell them it's time to make history. I don't know if y'all still tweeting, but if you do, tweet, tweet, tweet everybody you know and tell them it's time to make history, because God is not going to do for us what we can do for ourselves. But if we will do what we're supposed to do, won't God show up? God will bless our efforts. Faith is not just what you believe about God, it's what you do because of what you believe about God. And if you do what you do, faith without works is dead. But faith with works is dynamic and powerful. Do I have a witness? When Moses stretched out his rod, then God showed up and opened the waters up, and the winds came down, and Pharaoh was brought down. When Esther went to see the king, then God showed up. When David threw the rock, then God showed up. When Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and a bad Negro refused to back down, then God showed up. When Thurgood Marshall went to the Supreme Court, then God showed up. When Jesus went to Calvary, then God showed up. When Rosa Parks sat down, then God showed up. They showed up, and Jim Crow came down. When Bishop Tutu and the mothers of South Africa, when they stood up, then God showed up. Do I have a witness here? Do I have a witness here? Won't God show up? If we try to make history, if we stand on the right side of history, won't God use the stone that the builders have rejected to make a new cornerstone in this world? And so I know y'all are college students, and I know you're way past grade school, but I want to ask you and the teachers here to all come with me for a minute and learn some new ABCs. In this moment when you need to make history, take the A and accept the challenge of every day. Take the B and be all you can be. Take the C and count your blessings. Take the D and do right. Take the E and ever strive for excellence. Take the F and fight on. Take the G and get going with God. Take the H and help somebody. Take the I and inspire somebody. Take the J and just say no to negative. Take the K and keep on keeping on. Take the L and learn to love somebody. Take the M and move mountains with the faith of a mustard seed. Take the N and never say never. Take the O and overcome your obstacles. Take the P and put your best foot forward. Take the Q and quit quitting. Take the R and run your race with courage. Take the S and stand for something, or you'll fall for anything. Take the T and try, and if you fail, get up and try again. Take the U and use what you got to get what you need. Take the V and visualize your own potential. Take the W and work hard every day. Take the X and x-ray your own lifestyle and get your eyes off everybody else's business. And take the Y. Take the Y and yearn to be all you can be. And take the Z and know you got a place in the zodiac, in the stars, and no matter where you are in history, God knows your zip code, and He's able to take care of you.
Mean things happening in this land. There are mean things happening in this land. But the movement's going on, and this movement's growing strong. 'Cause there are mean things happening in this land. There are mean things happening in this land. Happening in this land. Oh, as those corporate profits soar, the poor pay more and more. There are mean things happening in this land. In this land, in this land, in this land, in this land. There'll be good things happening in this land. There'll be good things happening in this land. 'Cause when the dispossessed unite, the end of poverty is in sight. And there'll be good things happening in this land. Good things happening.
That's right, Pauline. Thank you for singing us home. There are a lot of mean things happening in this land, but there are good things that will be happening in this land because we are coming together from all across the country, building our power, and not only building power, flexing our power. So thank you for joining us tonight. And if you believe in abolishing poverty as the fourth leading cause of death in this country, please join us on March 2nd. Do you believe in living wages, no more voter suppression, workers' rights and labor's rights? Join us on March 2nd. If you believe in healthcare for all, adequate housing, an end to gun violence, profit, and proliferation, if you believe in clean air and water, if you believe and demand these things and demand that we have environmental justice, fully funded public education, just immigration laws, and an end to systemic racism, white supremacy, and extremist political agenda, join us. Join us all across the country. Visit poorpeoplescampaign.org to find a State House assembly near you. Sign up, get involved, and tell everyone you know that there are good things that will be happening in this land when we come together and mobilize and flex our power. Good night, everyone. Forward together, not one step back.
Not one step back.
Not one step back. Not one step back.
From the bottom, everybody rises. Oh, when you live from the bottom, everybody rises. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Okay. So now when I say we have come to liberate you, it's because liberation is not something they're giving to you. We do not march to the Capitol so that they will give us liberation. That is not